Hello, folks, and welcome to today's episode of the Hospitable Hosts podcast. Today, I'm speaking with Keith Hazle from Sojourney, and Keith is a customer that actually left us for a moment there and came back. He's now on the Mogul plan, and he's here to tell us about his growth and how he enjoys being a property manager. Okay, hello, Keith. Nice to see you. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Keith. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. Cool. So, Keith, I always like to start off these episodes with asking just how you got into short-term rentals in the first place, giving us a bit of history on yourself and how long you've been in the game.
Great. So I've been now in short-term rentals since 2021. The way I got started was I did get my real estate license in the New York City market for the specific reason of wanting to always, learn a little bit more about real estate. And I just always had that desire to really get involved in the real estate. You hear a lot of people talk about real estate is how you create, financial wealth, things like that. And so what I liked about the short-term rental industry was it just seemed as from a standpoint of profit, long-term versus short-term tenants, you can earn a lot more with short-term tenants. So that's what made me want to get into it. Me and my wife, we tried to find some properties that we could use for rental arbitrage. We heard no a bunch of times. We got really close one time, and then heard no again, and then we just tried our luck to buy a property. And then that was how we got one of our big break, I guess you could say, in the short-term rental industry. We were able to buy a home. It was a multi-family home, and we started to use that. And that was our big, first, I guess, win in the short-term rental space back in 2021.
Nice. Wow. And then fast forward a little, 2021, finally got the first property after a little bit of trying here and there. How many properties are you at now? It gives us a bit of an overview of your current portfolio.
Yeah, so right now we're at 26 units that we manage. Actually, it's 27, but one of them you can't rent it separately. So we just use that like an upsell. So it's 26 plus one is what I tell people sometimes.
Nice. Sweet. And kind of what, it sounds like there's one quite interesting property in there. What kind of properties do you have? Are they all owned as well, or are you managing for others? And then, is there a certain kind of property type that you kind of invest in? So, are these kind of summer cabins? Are they downtown? Tell us a bit more on that.
Yeah, we have quite a variety. We have a lot of apartments inside of big apartment buildings. We have some in smaller apartment buildings. We have about 7 or 8 different locations, and in those different locations, we just have multiple units. But it ranges from properties that we own, properties that we have master leases with property management companies. And then we also have clients that we manage for as well. And some of those properties are worth, a couple $100,000 to some being worth, $3, $4, $5 million.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so I bet that's quite a challenge actually, in terms of kind of marketing and listing those properties and thinking about like the different benefits and features that you're kind of going after possibly different groups of people, right? For different properties.
Yeah. So different properties you definitely would cater into different avatars, right? So we get a variety of people, small groups, large groups, people traveling for work, people traveling for pleasure, right? We get them all.
Nice, awesome. And what does the team look like? You mentioned it as yourself and your wife at the start. Is it just yourself and your wife now still managing those 26 plus one properties, or do you have kind of a bit of a team helping you out?
No, I don't think any of us are superheroes. That would be very, very difficult to manage 26 just by ourselves, right? So no, we have a team. We have a team of virtual staff. We do have a couple of in-house cleaners as well. And we also have, of course, contractors that we work with when, on an as-needed basis. But on a regular
Yeah.
day to day, we have a team of 2 to 3 people that are helping with like guest communications, maintenance, cleaning, and everything else that goes along with managing short-term rentals.
Nice, awesome. And obviously, we're on the Hospitable Host podcast, so you're obviously using Hospitable as well. So, can you maybe talk a bit about how that's helping as well, helping you and your team kind of manage those properties?
Yeah, so we love Hospitable. Actually, when we Hospitable was the first property management software that we used back in 2021, and at that time, it wasn't as advanced as it is now. We did step away from it for a little bit, but we came back. We came running back,
Cool.
and we've been using it ever since. I really love it. The biggest thing for us was, and this was even years ago, you guys had the auto reply for certain, like,
Mm,
if a guest asks about the Wi-Fi, or if they ask about let's say the thermostat, we could basically create those responses and it would automatically send those out, which really helped us save a lot of time.
nice, awesome. I'm so glad you came back. um,
Likewise.
Sweet. Sweet. So, is there a kind of? I mean, it sounds like the automated replies is kind of a big thing for you. Is there anything maybe a bit newer as a feature that you've kind of really liked and kind of can't live without? It's okay if the answer is no and it's still kind of the automated replies,
hmm
but I know
hmm
that you're on our Mogul plan, so just kind of wondering if there's any newer features that are maybe like and now your favorite
Yeah.
tools.
Absolutely. So we're loving the QuickBooks connection. We haven't really started to dive into the getting the maximum I guess benefit out of it. However, it is a great addition. Also, the sentiment detection, that is phenomenal. Right? That's phenomenal. And then some of the, like, just the features that have been around, like being able to segment out your inbox and create different segments in your inbox, and then just like the auto replies. We also now turned on the actual AI responder. So when someone is not
Nice.
here, the overnight hours, like I think we have set for like 9 p.m. to like 9 a.m. right now. And so when someone is, not here, or we might miss a message, here and there, the autoresponder is there to help us, and it's quite accurate.
Nice, yeah, yeah. We've obviously put a lot of work into improving accuracy before we even let people put that live. But it's good to see that you're making use of those kind of advanced AI features on the Miracle Plan. It's cool. Sweet. Love to hear it. Would love to kind of just going kind of back to your business and managing for others. Would love to understand your experiences there and kind of the pros and cons you felt of being a property manager and hosting properties for others, maybe versus some of the kind of the pros and cons of kind of being the owner and actually hosting your own property.
hmm Well, when you're the owner, you have full control over what it is that you're doing, right? There's no one to really like answer to, no one that you need to run certain things by, right? If there's any like major damages or major improvements that you want to make to a property, right? It's on you deciding to decide what you want to do, right? Now, that's a good thing, right? Because you get to make the decisions, but also you have to cover the cost, right? So that's, I guess, a pro and a con of being, the owner.
Yeah.
Everything is up to you financially and, decision wise. From the standpoint of managing for someone else, there's a huge upside for you because you are able to now manage, utilize your skills to manage for someone else and help them earn a profit off of their property, right, as a short-term rental. Now, when you do go about it that way, for certain like major improvements, or it really depends on the type of relationship that you have with that particular client, you may have to run certain things by them, right? So I love to have a conversation with my owners ahead of time and just make sure that we're on the same page about how we're going to communicate about certain things. Because the last thing that I would want to do is have to literally uh, ask for approval on every single thing, right? It just really slows down your workflow.
100%. That makes a lot of sense. And how do you go about picking? I was going to say, how do you go about picking property owners that you're going to work with as a manager, or I guess how do they find you? Might be the better
Hmm.
question. I'm not sure
Hmm.
which way around it typically works for you.
Got it, got it. Yeah, so if they're looking for me, they can go on sojourneycollection.com, or I also get referrals through my network. I'm very particular about who we decide to bring on as a client because that is a very important relationship, right? And one of the things that I
Mm-hmm.
look for is whatever property that someone is asking me to manage, I need to first make sure that there's enough profit after all of your expenses for both the owner and also for my company, right? Because we put a lot of
Yeah.
effort into it, right? So they're not just working with me, right? They get access to my entire team, right? And so working around the clock, we need to make sure that we're not operating at a loss, right? To manage for someone. Now when we are having that conversation, or like that I guess that initial interviewing process, I'm just want to look for people who are okay with really relying on our expertise and knowing that we will know typically what is the best route we should take with whatever happens, right? Because I can't promise you that someone's not gonna, no one's gonna damage your property. I can't promise you that you're gonna get 50,000 in revenue in any given month, right? But what I can promise
Mm-hmm.
is that no matter what happens, our company is going to be there to do what we need to do, and we're going to use based off of experience, right? What we know will typically work in fixing anything, whether it's damages, revenue issues, occupancy, whatever it is.
Sweet. Awesome. That's good to hear. And then I'd love to kind of get your impression on, like, I'm sure you're a great property manager. So what would you say makes a great property manager, right? Like, what are some of the
Mhm.
attributes that you think that property owners looking for a manager to help them should be looking for?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say that typically, someone is a property manager. One of the things that I will look for is someone who is going to be transparent, right? Transparent, and they're not gonna like try to overpromise, right? Because anyone can sell you a dream, right? And they can show you,
Yeah.
yeah, look at this property is making $20,000 a month, but like that property may also have $17,000 in expenses. There's so what are we really sharing here, right? So people who are going to be transparent about what you're actually getting set up for, right? What you're opening your property up to, right? Also, like, because the thing about it is you can vet a guest, but you still don't know who this person truly is, and you don't know what their true intentions are. So it's important that an owner understands that up front, and is understanding that the property management company that they're working with has things in place to be able to handle anything that comes up, right? A great thing that I will look for too in a property manager is someone who has a good quality control system. I'm talking about maintenance and cleaning and really communicating with guests in a professional way whenever something does possibly, happen. And the reason for that is because you want a person that is going to be able to come to your property. Let's say a guest checks out today and they check back in 6 months from now. They should come to your property, and the next time they come back to your property, it should either be in the same condition or in a better condition than it was, right? And property managers, a lot of times they add on a lot of properties and then they get very big, And the larger you
Mm.
get, the more you scale, it's harder to keep that same quality product as when you had, maybe just 5 or 10 units.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Cool. So I've got two questions left for you, Keith.
Mhm.
The slightly harder one out of left field is what's the biggest challenge that you face as a short-term rental host?
The biggest challenge, it's a great question. The biggest challenge, I would say, sometimes it can be like the unpredictability. You really have to be, when I say unpredictable, I'm not saying like, oh, we're gonna not hit our revenue targets. But what I mean is you really have to pay attention to the trends, to the market, what's going on, because there's a lot of hosts, right? There's no criteria for becoming a host, right? And so
Yeah.
one month you may have 1,000 listings show up in your market, and they could all be 70% of them could be great hosts, 30% could be terrible hosts. And so a lot of times what happens is the bad hosts, they kind of create a stigma, right, in the industry, and we have to kind of deal with it, right, as the good hosts. So there's no way to really like get around having to just deal with there being a lot about the inventory, right? That's increasing. So I would say that, yeah, the biggest challenge is just having to really stay on top of what's going on in your market and understanding that things are going to change, and then you have to adjust to it, right? And so
Mm.
whether that's figuring out what new pricing strategy is going to work, what new design is going to work for you to stay at the top of your game in your market.
Cool. That makes sense. I love it. Great answer. Good. So, final easy question. You called it out already, but if anyone did want to get in contact with you and learn more about you potentially being their property manager, where can they go to find out more information, Keith?
Yeah, so they can find me on sojourneycollection.com or on Instagram. My full name, Keith Hazel. That's my Instagram handle. They can find me, send me a message there on Instagram as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Keith. Pleasure speaking with
All
you.
right.
Thanks all for listening to today's episode of the Hospitable Host podcast with Keith and myself, Miles. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and listen out for our next episode dropping real soon.